For more on this, we are being joined by Mark Merowitz from New York. Mark is professor at State University of New York Maritime College, and he's joining us live. Mark, great to see you. A big day for Donald Trump here in New York. What are your thoughts about everything that's happening? His comments saying that he has the money, Letitia James just waiting to seize his assets, and basically the whole country watching to see what happens.
I think that the proverb, I don't know if it's a Chinese proverb or Indian proverb, be careful what you wish for. Let's suppose they get the right to seize the assets. They are really stepping into one of the most convoluted, complex legal procedures in history. For example, Trump has apparently 500 companies that hold his assets. This is similar to the idea in corporate law we learned in the law school, where the taxi companies, each taxi driver has his car as a separate company. So if he gets sued on an accident, then you can't sue his whole fleet. So this is exactly what's going on also. He holds these properties as leases. He has contracts and partnerships. And furthermore, he has lenders. So supposing, as the New York Times points out today, that they seized the assets at one of the buildings. By the way, I worked years ago in a law firm, 40 Wall Street, one of the Trump one of the Trump assets. That's actually a lease. And what happens is you seize it, but then you step into it and now you have to recoup it, and they're lenders and tenants. So I think they're going to have to create an entire infrastructure to deal with this, the complexity of it. I mean, I don't think the Attorney General's office is going to continue to really function except to do this. So I think that this sounds like a possibility, but then you have lenders, tenants, and all sorts of competing interests to contend with. So do you really collect at the end of the day? And how do you collect? And how many legal proceedings do you need to collect? So this is one gigantic Pandora's box, as we would say.
Yeah, and Mark, I want to talk about this Westchester property of Donald Trump that's making headlines. Why is Westchester Golf Course so significant in all of this? Why did she go for that? I know she mentioned Letitia James wanted to go for Wall Street. And how will this work out? I mean, it's not like there's going to be this big sign that says seized, or there isn't going to be a big lock, as far as I know, on these properties should she go in.
Well, the legal proceedings that are brought, for example, 40 Wall Street, according to the Times, is worth $250 million, but there's $200 million collateralized against it. And transfer taxes and fees and all sorts of other legal issues, there'll only be $1 million left at the end of the day. So when you say, how does it look? Yeah, they go out and they bring a legal proceeding, and then it becomes complex. Like these bankruptcy or reorganization proceedings are very complicated legal proceedings. So they're not going to be, signs on the fences necessarily or signs on the door, but there'll be so many legal proceedings to try to unravel. And that's the problem you have here, is unraveling the legal interconnections of how all this works, whether the golf course or 40 Wall or all of these buildings and even his own apartment are all subject to separate corporate requirements and corporate entities. So the point being that at the end of the day, it's very complicated. By the way, Trump has just done a public deal with his Truth Social company, with his media network, which could possibly give him a windfall of $3 billion. The only problem is he can't sell the shares under securities laws for 6 months. So if he's playing chess here, he's got his appeal pending. He's got all sorts of legal proceedings. We're getting closer and closer to the election. And even though this is in a state court, he's trying to get closer and closer as much as possible to the election, where it becomes less and less possible to really proceed against him. Certainly on the federal side, the federal cases will be very hard to proceed on because the Justice Department apparently has a rule that they don't proceed against candidates for certainly presidential elections. So his game here is to keep postponing it. And then even if she gets the judgment, by the way, he did post a bond for his defamation suit. That one he was able to do. That was about $91 million. That one he was able to do. But this number is so big and so complex, he hasn't been able to get it together, and he hasn't been able to find bond companies willing to issue the bonds. So for the attorney general here and for Trump, it's a gigantic, complicated chess game that they're really playing here. And even if Letitia James wins the chess game, look what she gets as a result: an unbelievably complicated legal mess, labyrinth of companies and partnerships and entities. And to unravel those, I would think, would take years to do. Not months, not days, years. Complexity. And they're going to be requesting documents. How are they going to do it? So again, what a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to say the least, what an absolute mess. And we'll be watching very closely. Of course, the former president is going to be in New York today regarding that hush money case with former adult star Stormy Daniels. So that's something to watch as well. Mark Marowitz, is always great to talk to you, and always great to get an attorney's perspective on all of this.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.